possibly Nintendo's biggest surprise announcement of the year is here, in the form of Endless Ocean Luminous. And I was curious to see how this format would hold up outside of that more casual Wii market, and how it could be modernized for 2024. Now, we didn't receive early code for this one, so these will be some initial technical and gameplay impressions based on the first few hours of the game. Right off the bat, I can say this game's gonna be divisive. It's extremely slow-paced, you're never in danger, and the challenge comes simply from exploring and finding everything, much like the previous two Endless Ocean games. It's also structured in such a way that you can't just rush through the story. Chapters are gated behind documenting a certain number of fish, so you'll need to take breaks from the story to just sort of go wander around. Something I do really appreciate about this entry, and a way in which they have modernized the formula, is the use of procedural environments for your dives. Whether you're playing solo or online, when you start a dive, the area that you'll dive into is generated randomly on the fly. These environments aren't incredibly ambitious, but given how much time you'll need to spend going on dives, this does ensure some freshness each time. These dives also seem to be better when playing online, as the areas are huge, and documenting everything solo will take you a very long time. It'll be interesting to see how populated these servers stay long term. For the sake of this video, I've primarily focused on single-player dives, primarily just because I wanted to bum around looking at technical stuff like texture detail, lighting, and of course resolution, without being a hindrance to the rest of the lobby. But all of my findings in single-player carry over to multiplayer as well. Endless Ocean Luminous is a very clean-looking game, and I think this is both an artistic choice as well as a utilitarian one. When playing single-player, the game can look a little bland, kinda empty. However, it does ensure that performance keeps up fine in multiplayer, at least in my experience thus far. And that's not to say the game is devoid of nice visual touches. Fish are detailed overall, though some do hold up better to scrutiny than others. Divers, though simple, are stylistically distinct and stand out nicely against the gloom. The surface of the water above you just makes use of a simple cube map for reflections, but it looks very attractive. When diving at night or heading into dark areas, a flashlight kicks on to illuminate the area ahead of you, and it interacts nicely with the simple but effective texture work on fish and the environment. Though I would have liked to see more dynamic shadows cast by the sun and your flashlight. The game only targets 30 FPS, and seems to have no trouble hitting it. Once again, I assume this modest target is built around the demands of multiplayer. That being said, this is a very slow-paced game, so 30 FPS was just fine with me. Resolution looks really sharp, hitting a full 1080p docked and 720p handheld. I haven't seen evidence of either of these being dynamic, so at least in the resolution department, we're getting everything we could ask for. The image isn't anti-aliased at all, so depending on your TV resolution, you may notice some harsh edges when playing docked. But when playing in handheld mode, you're at least getting a perfect native resolution, which I think looks really nice, even if the image is very raw. My primary issue with what I've seen of Endless Ocean Luminous so far is that it seems somewhat simplified compared to the previous entries. Not that they were horribly complex to begin with. Multiplayer was clearly the focus here, but a lot of the expanded gameplay of the previous games just isn't here. The only voiced character seems to be your companion AI, while the occasional other divers you meet in the story only speak to you via text boxes. There is no above water area, so while characters will refer to sending an artifact back to HQ, you never actually seem to see it. Contrast this with the second game in the series, where you had an actual base of operations you could visit between dives, and characters you could interact with, and Luminous winds up feeling kind of like a simplified experience by comparison. It isn't exactly a hot take to say this game isn't going to be for everyone. Unfortunately, I feel like even some existing Endless Ocean fans may feel like this one is missing something. At the same time, procedural environments and online multiplayer can add a lot to the experience. I'm looking forward to continuing to explore it and see if any of these issues resolve themselves later on, or perhaps if new things will be introduced to replace them entirely. Regardless, Endless Ocean Luminous seems to be a technically conservative game that ultimately results in a very reliable and solid technical outcome that isn't showy at the cost of performance. A lot will hinge on the online community for this game, so hopefully there's enough here to draw enough divers to fill the sea. But that's all I've got for now. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing to Nintendo World Report TV and checking out NintendoWorldReport.com for a whole lot more. You can join our Discord to chat with us about this or anything else Nintendo related using the link in the description. And if you want to get a hold of me specifically, you can feel free to reach out on your social media platform of choice using the handle on screen. My name's John Reardon, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. This video is made possible by our generous supporters on Patreon. Did you know that Nintendo World Report is funded directly by fans like you? When you support Nintendo World Report on Patreon, you get immediate access to multiple exclusive podcasts every month, exclusive Discord channels, an early look at select content, and more, all for as little as $1 a month. Check out patreon.com/NWR for all the details.